Okay, I just wanted to make a quick video on getting everyone up to speed with how to get our repository and install the dependencies and run our project. Because I'm coming from a state where I didn't know anything a week ago, and I'm sure some of you were in the same boat as me. So I've created a new repository on our shared music project that we should all be a part of. So you can hit that. Um, Go grab the clone URL, and then here on the right, I got a command prompt, and I'm just going to clone that directory to wherever I see fit, cloning. And then now that we got it, I'm going to open a folder, open that folder that I just cloned, and what you'll see is our Node.js project. And so the package.json is one of the important files of a Node.js project. It kind of describes itself, and then also the dependencies that you need. So these dependencies aren't associated with the project on GitHub because you're expected just to download those yourself and install them. The first thing that you'll want to do is definitely go to nodejs.org and install Node.js, because from now on you won't be able to do anything I'm doing unless you have that installed. Without further ado, the command you install to get the dependencies after you've navigated to the project directory is npm install. And so that'll recognize that, hey, these 5 dependencies are needed, and I'm going to go out and get those. And ignore this red text. It's not actually blowing up or anything for now. So don't get distracted by that. You'll see on the left, it's created a node modules, and so these contain all the dependencies. And so what you can do is you can go and look at the code itself. So maybe you were using a specific framework and you want to know how it was doing something. You can go investigate that for yourself. So right now I have these 5 frameworks that I'm using. It turns out that I want to use a framework called Mocha for the testing, and I didn't actually put that in package.json for kind of a derivative test example. And so if you want to install your own, framework, all you have to do is go npm install, and then you go --save, and then you pass the framework name, which in this case is Mocha. And so what that'll do is that'll go out and download the repository, stick it in your node modules, and as well, it'll edit the package.json to contain that dependency. So then next time you upload it to Git, and then someone else downloads it, they just have to run npm install, and they'll have Mocha installed as well. A nice thing that I like to do is also, if you wanted to, you can install a framework globally. So this means that you'll never have to get it for a specific project again. It'll just be installed for all of your Node projects. And so if you want to do that, which I've done for my Mocha framework, is you just add a -g flag, and that'll install it globally. And so then you can use Mocha as a command, and then instead of having to point node modules and then point it at the Mocha and then bin, Mocha bin. Otherwise, you'd have to do that and to run Mocha. But since I've installed it globally, I can just run it via command like that. So if you see that in the future, that's what I've done. So quickly moving on to the server.js. So this is kind of where our server logic would fit. But right now it's just a very simple example. So we've required Express.js, which is it's pretty much a web API framework, and it helps with kind of the navigation of the website. So if you want to make an API, that's what you're using. HTTP kind of listens on specific ports, and then of course Socket.io is kind of the real-time messaging between clients and servers. That's what we should probably be using. And so what I've got here is I set up the HTTP object to listen on port 3000, and I set up the Express.js object to, if it's not given a path, to return a file. that's in the current directory named index.html, and I'll talk about that in a second. And so then what I've just set up for the socket.io is a very simple chat messaging program. So every time a user hits our, tries to connect a socket on port 3000, localhost, they'll raise this connection event on our socket.io object, and that'll pass the socket object. And so what you can do is you can say, I want to listen on a function that a client could call. And the client will pass a message, which should be a string, but it could be whatever. This is JavaScript, not strongly typed. And what that'll do is that'll emit to all of the sockets that are currently connected. It'll call a function on them called chat message, and it'll pass that message as a parameter. So then if we go over to our index.html page, you'll see I have just a simple message list and a simple form to write in the message and some styling to make it look halfway decent. Then the meat of this is down here. So I create a socket.io object, and then when they go to submit their message, I emit. So this is essentially calling a function on the server and passing it the message value. That's it. The rest is cleaning up the page. And then down here, I'm saying I'm listening for a chat message function to be raised on me, and when that happens, call this with the message that's passed to me and add it to the list. So now that we've quickly went over that, I should be able to just kind of run that. So if I go node server.js, that will run our server. And just to quickly show it's working, we're listening on port 3000. And so now I'll open up two web pages here, and both will be pointed at localhost 3000. And so what that should do is that serves up the simple page. And if I type hello on the left, it'll pop up for both of them. And if I type hello on the right, it'll pop up for them. So that's the super simple example of getting a web page up and running. And so I'm gonna stop that. And so then what I also have is I've started to write out what we've got for the architecture. And so you'll see I have a user described here, a room state, and also a room. And so what you can go over this at your own time. I don't think it's at a perfect state yet, which is why I'm also writing tests at the same time, and then I'll go over that now. So the testing framework that actually runs the tests is called Mocha, and so what that does is it runs the tests and then it checks to see if any assertions were failed during that, and the assertions are ran using a framework called should. And there's a couple different options for these. I just chose should because that's the example that I saw used. So for our tests, I describe a test file for each of the kind of objects in architecture. And so you describe a test with a bystring name. And for this one's the room state. And then for each individual test, you say what it should do. So this one should populate the properties on creating a new room state object. And then Mocha works by passing in this done function. And you call the done function when all of the assertions that you've wanted to run are finished. And if the done function isn't called before that time, or in a reasonable amount of time, Mocha will time out that test and it'll just automatically fail. So you'll see in this test I follow an arrange act assert pattern. And so once I'm done asserting, I'm done, so I call that. So then here on the right, what I can do is I can go and run mocha r spec, and I think that just colors the tests. So mocha will go out to my folder and say, hey, there's some tests in the test folder. That's where it's expecting them to go, and then it should run them. And so I have three kind of test suites. This one's actually named wrong. It should just be architecture room. And you can quickly see which tests are running or which tests are not running. A nice thing that I also have liked to use in the last week is mocha-w-r and then nyancat, because nyancat's cool. And so then what that'll do is that'll run the tests and then spit out this nice nyancat with some indicators. But the -w flag specifically says that every time you save a file in the folder, run all the tests to make sure, or just run all the tests and tell me whether I'm passing or failing or whatnot. So right, if I make a change to this test, dot boot values, and I'll make a change that I know is definitely wrong, so should equal 1. When I control S this file, you'll see it runs again, and it says that the 1 should actually be, the 1 should actually be a 0, and it gives the line number of the test it's failing. So that's nice to very quickly see that you're passing your tests as you're writing your code, right? Because I could be actually changing the architecture.js, and this kind of testing would work the same. So that's nice. And I think that's all I have to talk about right now. If you want, you can check out the architecture.js and the tests. Thanks for watching. Bye now.